So before moving on, let's see that what is a friction. Friction is an example of a contact force that usually opposes the motion of an object. Now let us have a look at the materials. We will require a piece of cloth, a pen, a Fevicol or tape, and we will also require a plain polished surface. Like over here I have taken my table. So now let's get started with our activity. So let's have a look at case 1. For the case 1, we will be requiring a pen. Just remove its lid, keep the pen at the corner of the table and just leave the pen on its own. In my case, the pen starts to roll over the surface on its own. Have you noticed what happened? If not, let's see it again. In this case, when I just leave the pen without applying any force on it, the pen starts to roll on the surface of this table and reached to the other end of this table. Well, just remember this observation. We are going to conclude that at the end. So now let us have a look at case 2. For case 2, you will be requiring a piece of cloth, a pen, a Fevicol or a tape, and we will be starting with our case 2 now. So now as and soon I take the pen and roll it on this piece of cloth, it just stopped moving. Have you noticed what happened? And is there any difference between the first case and the second case? If yes, remember it. We are going to conclude that at the end of this activity. For the case number 3, you will require a sheet of paper and then just roll this pen on this paper. What do you observe? Again, you have to do the same job. Remember it. So now let's move on to case 4. In the case 4, I have again taken a piece of cloth, but the difference is that in the case number 2, I have taken a cotton piece of cloth and this is the synthetic piece of cloth. So in this as well, I just roll the same pen and you could see the results, right? So again, what you have to do, you already know. Well, I'm just kidding. You don't have to remember any observations more because we are going to conclude this activity over here only and we are going to move on to the results. So let's have a look at the results now. So in the first case, the pen starts to roll smoothly on the surface of table as the table is a plain surface. Though it also have irregularities but very less which can be easily overcome. No object in the universe is there which do not have irregularities. There are many ups and downs which cannot seen by naked eyes. So hence we conclude over here that the interlocking of irregularities is very less and it means that the friction is also less, which allows the pen to move perfectly. And now in the case number 2, we observed that the pen was not moving on its own. We required an external force to move that pen from its place. And when this pen starts to move, this again gets stopped in between. Why does it happen? It happens due to the irregularities of this piece of cloth. In the first case, when we tried it, the same pen on the table surface, it was moving easily because the table was having less irregularities which can be easily overcome. But in this case, the cloth has more irregularities which have been interlocked with the irregularities of this pen and hence the friction is more in this case and that is stopping the pen from moving efficiently. In the third case, we observed that the pen was moving efficiently on this piece of paper, but the irregularities of this piece of paper was slightly more than the table and was lesser than the irregularities of the piece of cloth. That's why this pen moves easily over this surface of paper. And in this last case where we took the synthetic piece of cloth, the pen was moving but slightly at a greater speed than the piece of cloth which we have taken earlier. And this happens because the synthetic cloth has less irregularities than the earlier piece of cloth and hence the friction is less and it is allowing the pen to move on the surface. So hence we come on to a combined conclusion of this activity that the cause of friction is nothing but it is just happening due to the irregularities interlocking among each other. And we also conclude that one of the factors that affect the friction is nothing but the roughness or smoothness of the surface. That's all. Thank you.